Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
Trying to run a business in this economy? Tariffs are in full effect on Canadian steel and aluminum heading to the United States, with reciprocal tariffs now in place. The Trump administration continues on a daily basis to threaten even more trade damage coming up on April 2nd. But perhaps what's even a greater challenge for business operators is just dealing with the minute-by-minute changing signals on trade coming from the White House, let alone the 25% price hikes on various products. What's on, what's off, and what's being threatened? And Canadian business operators are finding themselves trying to manage the tax policies and consumer uncertainty. One of those is Napoleon Group of Companies, a leader in the manufacturing and sales of barbecues and fireplaces, along with heating and air conditioning systems. The company is soon celebrating its 5th year in operation. Napoleon is based in Barrie, Ontario. My name is Mike Eppel. Joining us on the line is Mike Tzimas, the president of the Napoleon Group of Companies. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're in the midst of a trade war. Steel and aluminum products are being hit by tariffs. Last time I checked, a lot of what you made is made out of steel and aluminum. So how is this affecting Napoleon as a business?
Yeah, it's actually quite layered and deep. So I think what maybe some of your listeners don't know with these steel and aluminum tariffs is that there's what's called a derivative list. And on that list are certain products that are included. And unfortunately for Napoleon is barbecues and fireplaces. And what that simply means is that it's not just the tariff on the steel or aluminum content within our goods, it's on the total value of the good. So the impact is quite significant.
So it's even more complex. You know, it's just layer upon layer of complexity.
You got it. Absolutely.
And cost.
Unfortunately, as you know, Premier Ford and a number of our government officials have indicated, really it's the end consumer that unfortunately pays for tariffs at the end of the day.
We'd see some evidence that companies were front loading the risk of tariffs actually taking place. Had you been stockpiling any inventory or supplies or materials in advance of this?
We do have quite a large logistics center in Kentucky that helps support distribution across the U.S. And of course, we did try and work ahead there, but you're always limited in space. And without knowing really kind of the timeline around this, building up stock and our supply chain's quite integrated, you can only build so far ahead. So we did what we could to make sure we could support all of our great customers south of the border, but it is limited.
Just from your business setup, your main manufacturing, though, is specifically here in Canada and Barrie, right?
You got it. We've got over 1,000 individuals working for us in Barrie.
And then a distribution setup in the United States. How do you square that when we're talking about cross-border? If it's made in Canada and shipped into the United States, is that then subject to tariffs, or because you're distributing directly out of the States? Explain that if you could.
Yeah, so if the goods are already there pre-tariff implementation, then obviously there's no tariff added to those. The added complexity is twofold. So you have the Section 232, which is the steel aluminum tariffs. That's what's in effect right now. All of our goods obviously meet USMCA, but if that, call it broad 25% tariff comes into play after April 2nd, both these tariffs, the first 25 on steel and aluminum, and then the general tariff would be stacking upon each other. So, you know, right now we're subject to the 25% tariff heading into the U.S.
You mentioned the USMCA. There's been a lot of discussion about, and a few hints that maybe this is the way it's going to go. We've seen that carve out for the auto sector specifically, if it's in the or covered by the trade deal. There are multiple layers of frustration here, I'm guessing, but the fact that something that is covered under a current trade agreement is subject to tariffs, that must be extremely difficult and angering, really.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating. Obviously, I have a great team with me. We're working around this. We have great partners, both here in Canada and south of the border, that we're working diligently together to navigate these kind of uncharted waters. But yeah, you would think that a deal signed is something we would want to work towards. And then obviously, if the big piece here is renegotiating that and what that looks like, I mean, I'll leave it to our government officials to execute on that. But yeah, this is creating a bunch of uncertainty, really hurting consumer confidence, and really adding a level of complexity for all manufacturers.
And let's face it, we're days away from spring. It's warming up. It's barbecue season. I'm assuming is your busiest time of the year for overall sales?
Yeah, spot on. So most of our load-in happens in Q1, so January, February, March. But yes, all of our retailers, our big box partners, as they gear up for April, May, and June, that's kind of the busy selling season. So they're well stocked. We're in good position. Lots of new products introduced in 2025, and we're quite excited. So hopefully cooler heads prevail. And, as we heard yesterday, it was a constructive discussion between Premier Ford and Mr. Lutnick, and hopefully things can calm down and we can move forward.
Well, would this affect prices on items on barbecues, for example, that have already been manufactured, or is it what's currently in the production line?
Yeah, if you're thinking about what we're building and shipping south of the border, obviously there would be an impact there that we're going to have to work with our partners to essentially execute a price increase. It's unfortunate. No single business can take on a 25% hit to cost. And really that would be kind of on a go forward basis.
Yeah. How has this affected your staffing levels or within the plant itself?
We've maintained and the Shorter family, the owners we're a private business, have always been committed to keeping our associates employed. And that's always been one of our kind of core values. So we've made no changes to current staffing levels. One of the things that we do, we're obviously very well known for the barbecue business, but really the company was founded on fireplaces, and we're also one of the few and proud HVAC companies as well. So we're quite diversified. We sell in over 70 countries around the world. And so there's always seasonality between each three business lines that helps us balance out staffing.
Yeah. So basically, from that side of the business, the fireplace end, I'm guessing you're just waiting and seeing to see exactly how long this lasts, if the tariffs come off anytime soon, and then start to build up the inventory and or the supplies for the next season.
Yeah. So we'll continue to navigate exactly as you said, and really just try and wait out this storm a little bit, and hopefully things settle down and we can move back to business.
And I guess the biggest issue that everybody has is the not knowing, the shifting messages that you get almost on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, and that's really what's driving that uncertainty. Obviously, we can kind of plan for whatever comes our way, but it's the constant back and forth in the shift that obviously adds a lot of complexity to anybody in the manufacturing sector. Obviously, being an OEM, our supply chain is very, very integrated. You have tools all over the world that are manufacturing components and parts, electronics, so on and so forth. You can't just shift that on a dime. These are 12, 18, 24-month changes to production. And certain companies have been set up very, very well to produce certain types of components in certain regions. And so similar to the auto industry and the auto package since the 60s, it's very difficult to unwind, almost frankly impossible.
This all is coming at a time when Napoleon is gearing up for a huge anniversary. I mean, it's a 50-year-old company. It's a Canadian success story. So are you really marketing it as such? We've heard a lot of discussion about buy Canadian. There is a very patriotic trend underway right now for consumers. So is that kind of the strategy?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a big commitment to our partners south of the border. Obviously, it's the largest consumer market in the world, and we're continuing to invest down there. But yeah, we're extremely proud of being Canadian, coming up on our 50th anniversary. Quite the success story of Wolfgang and Ingrid Schroeder starting in their garage, building wood stoves, and here we are nearly 50 years later with selling in over 70 countries around the world. But yes, we're very proud Canadian. Really encouraging everybody, if you're looking for a barbecue fireplace HVAC, to look Canadian. And we have over 1,000 families relying on us in Barrie, Ontario, to continue producing these great products.
Thank you very much for joining us today. It's good talking to you.
Likewise.
This is Mike Tzimas, the president of the Napoleon Group of Companies. Thank you for listening to In This Economy. If you have any feedback, questions, or for a story idea, you can email me at mike.eppel at rci.rogers.com. My account on X is at Eppman, Eppman. And just a reminder, you can get all of your favorite Frequency Network podcasts on the Seeker app. Talk to you again soon.